Well, hey guys, and welcome to our episode 1 of our new series, Stretch. And you can hear that name and you might be wondering what it is about, and I think the name might explain itself, or maybe it won't. And if that's the case, I'll do it for you right this second. Stretch is something that is uncomfortable. Like when you guys are about to work out, how many times have you heard in gym class or before a track meet or before any type of competition where you need to use your muscles that you have to stretch? You have to stretch in order to prepare yourself to perform. You have to stretch your muscles in order to give them what they need to do their job well. And I don't know about you guys, but I think sometimes we hear that we need to stretch and we can grumble about it and we can moan about it, but we all understand the importance of it. It's just not always easy. And I think the reason why taking time to stretch something, taking time to make sure that you are preparing it to work well isn't easy is because it requires a commitment. And I don't know about you guys, but commitment matters. And I've learned this so many different ways over the years of why commitment matters. But I think one reason I can think of it is when I was a junior in high school, I decided I wanted to go out for the pole vaulting team because I thought it would just be so cool to tell people that I was a pole vaulter, that I could fly over these huge poles. You see, I was in long jump, high jump, and triple jump. I was on varsity for those things in track. So I said, oh, this is no biggie. I can show up and I can be a pole vaulter. But you had to go through tryouts. But here's the thing, I showed up at those tryouts, but in the weeks leading up to those tryouts, not once did I go to the practices, not once did I try to hold a pole vaulting pole, not once did I talk to the coach about it and ask for information or tips. I just showed up and hoped it would work out. And I think it's pretty safe for you to assume, because it's pretty obvious, I didn't make the team. And that's because I wasn't prepared. I thought I could just show up and wing it. I thought doing all those other jumping activities and track meant that I could just somehow make it work. But even though I was so enthusiastic about it and that I really wanted it to happen and I thought it would be so great, I lacked commitment. You see, if I had been committed to joining that pole vaulting team, I would have showed up for those practices. I would have talked to that coach. I would have spent time learning how to do it before I tried out. I would have actually done the work it takes to prepare for something if I had actually been committed to it. And you see, what we are talking about in this series, Stretch, is not just your average muscle. We're talking about your spiritual muscle. And we're talking about how important it is for you to stretch your faith, to stretch it and prepare it to do God's work, to do what God has called you to do. And in order to start doing that, in order to start preparing, which we are going to talk through in this series, we need to start with commitment. Are you committed to stretching your faith? Because that is what God asks of us. And what's great for us is the fact that we have the Bible. We have so many followers of Jesus that we can look to their writings and their encouragements to help us understand what it looks like to be committed, what it looks like to understand why we do what we do. And so I want to look at the words of Paul. And what you need to know and understand about Paul is Paul was super dedicated to the life that he was living. He was living the life of a Pharisee, and he was committed to hunting down, persecuting, and killing Christians. It was his mission. But Jesus changed that. Jesus changed that, and then Paul writes these words, and I think they're so important. I think they're profound. And these words are in Romans 5, 6 through 8. And here's what they say. You see, Just at the right time, when we were still powerless, Christ died for the ungodly. Very rarely will anyone die for a righteous person, though for a good person, someone might possibly dare to die. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And what's so important to understand in what Paul is saying is he's not saying Christ died for you sinners. He talks about how he died for us. He includes himself in that. Because Paul understood that Jesus was providing him a new way of life, a new way of living, something else for him to commit to. And that was a relationship with Jesus. And Jesus does the same for each and every one of us. Because you see, Jesus didn't die on that cross to make us perfect. He died on that cross so that he could know us. Know each and every one of us and have a personal relationship. But in order to do that, in order to have that relationship with him, we have to accept it. We have to commit to it. And Paul goes on to talk about what that looks like in Romans 6, 1 through 4. And this is what he says. What shall we say then? Shall we go on sinning so that grace may increase? By no means. We are those who have died to sin. How can we live in it any longer? Or don't you know that all of us who were baptized into Christ Jesus were baptized into his death? We were therefore buried with him through baptism into death, in order that just as Christ was raised from the dead through the glory of the Father, we too may live a new life. And what that means is if we are choosing to have that relationship with Jesus, our life needs to reflect it. And I don't want you to hear me say that and assume that I'm telling you you have to be perfect now, because it's not the case. It's just our life should reflect the sacrifice that Jesus has made. You see, Jesus died for us so that we may know him, and our lives should reflect the relationship we have with him. How we love people, how we interact with people, everything we do, we should be attempting to show Jesus. We should be attempting to respond to his love and the new way of life that he has given us. But it requires commitment. You see, Jesus doesn't just want to know you on Sundays. Jesus doesn't just want to know you in small group. Jesus wants to know you each and every day. He wants you to know him too. And in order for that to happen, you need to be committed to seeking him out. To seek to know him, to seek to grow with him, and to seek to find yourself and who he has called you to be in him. But in order to do that, we need to show up. We need to be willing to put in the work. We need to be committed. But we also have to understand the commitment we're making. You see, Jesus isn't just saving us to know us. He's also saving us to call us to something better, something bigger. And we see it in the way that he calls some of the disciples. And I want to read it in Matthew 4, 18 through 20. Here's what it says. As Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon called Peter and his brother Andrew. They were casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. Come, follow me, Jesus said, and I will send you out to fish for people. At once they left their nets and followed him. What's happening in these verses is something that's radical and incredible, because you see, what you were born into back in that day is what you were. Simon and Andrew were fishermen. They were born into a fisherman family. They were going to be fishermen themselves, and they were going to die in a fisherman family. But Jesus came along and said, I have something more for you. I have something better. And that doesn't mean being a fisherman is bad, but Jesus was calling them to not just a job, but to a purpose a purpose that matters, a purpose that cares about people. And Andrew and Simon responded. They responded and they left their life of fishing and they committed themselves to the purpose that Jesus called them to. They committed to knowing Jesus, they committed to pursuing Jesus, they committed to having a relationship with him, and then they committed to pursuing the callings that he had placed on their lives. And those callings were to love others well and share who Jesus was with them. And they committed to that. And it's the same thing that Jesus is asking us to commit to as well. You see, Jesus is asking us to engage in a relationship with him, to know him so that he can better know and love us. But then he's also asking us to be committed to helping others know Jesus too. That we don't just stop at our own relationship with Jesus, but that we seek to help others find Jesus and bring them towards him. But it requires commitment. And so that's what I want you to be asking yourselves today. Am I committed? Am I committed to having that relationship with Jesus? Am I committed to figuring out who Jesus has made me to be? Am I committed to pursuing the calling that Jesus has placed on my life? And if I am, how should I be practicing? How should I be stretching my faith so that I can better pursue all of those things? And if you're not ready for that kind of commitment, if you're not ready to pursue those things, that's okay. But feel free to ask why. If you have questions, please share. I hope you know this is a safe place to ask your questions, to want answers. And hopefully we can help you answer them. But please ask. But I just really want you guys to be asking yourselves today, as we step into this series about what it looks like to stretch our faith, ask yourself, where am I at? Am I committed? And if I'm not, why? And if I am committed, what do I need to do now? All right, guys, we have several announcements for you if you want to take a listen to them, but enjoy small groups. All right, well, hey guys, welcome to Ronnie and Chip Do Announcements. We have quite a few announcements for you guys today, so listen up. What's the first one?
First off, we're not doing our Bible study this week because Ronnie is out of her mind. No, she's out of town because...
Out of my mind?
No.
I'm out of town.
Oh yeah, that's it. No, she's getting married. So...
Yes, so we are pausing Bible study for 1 week, but we also want to let you guys know that there is no online impact this following Sunday, September 13th, and that is because South Lake is doing their first drive-in services during the 9 and 11 a.m. So your family can sign up to drive in, sit in a parking space, and enjoy a live service where Dave Dummett, our lead pastor, is going to be coming to teach. But also, I want to let you guys know that we are going to be having our Impact Fall Kickoff, which is going to look very different than it has in the past because of COVID and because we can't do indoor meetings. Instead, after the 11 a.m. service on the 13th, this coming Sunday, you guys are invited to come and hang out with me, hang out with the leaders in the parking lot from 12 to 12:30. We're gonna play some games, we're gonna catch up, and we're gonna have some fun.
Community.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
I mean, come on, guys. How many of you have missed seeing me in person? You gotta.
Do I have to raise my hand?
No, I see you every day. But yes, guys, so come and hang out with us this following Sunday, 12 to 12:30. You'll find us. Just look for Foursquare in the air because we're going to be setting that up. All right, guys, that's what we have for you. Enjoy small group. This was Ronnie and Chip.
Signing off.
Doing announcements.